What up? It's your boy T-Bird here to reaction. Today's Wrestling Wednesday. About to check out a video from Wrestling Flashback, another history of a move, and this one talking about one of the most iconic move in wrestling. Started as a finisher by many and became one of the well-known moves used in wrestling. That is none other than the DDT. But made famous first that I know of by Jake the Snake Roberts, and later on became a big thing with many others as well too, including The Rock, The Miz, who else? Undertaker, Bobby Roode, Edge, Grand Grill, and many others. So without further ado, let's check out the history. I might find somebody who did it before. Jake the Snake Roberts. Let's get it.
When you think of a wrestling move that every current wrestler has attempted at some point, the DDT immediately comes to mind. It's quick yet effective, and this has led to so many different variations of the move being established in the ring. Watch any promotion today and you're bound to see some form of a DDT being hit. But the move has evolved a lot since it was first used, all the way back in the 1970s, with Mexican wrestler Black Gordman being its innovator. But it would be Jake the Snake Roberts who eventually popularized the maneuver in North America, starting in
We ain't gonna walk past my man Jerry saw that DDT like he had a heart. Well, can't say that. Having a seizure because I wasn't his heart attack, but he had one. I can't say that, but still.
Jake the Snake Roberts, who eventually popularized the maneuver in North America, starting in 1984 in Mid-South Wrestling. Jake's use of the DDT came from a complete accident, as Jake's foot was stepped on by his opponent whilst in a match, leading to both wrestlers falling down to the mat.
I couldn't move my legs, so we lost balance. And he stepped on my foot, and we went down.
What a huge pop.
Oh, my God, man.
I'm glad he's better now, but this one time he was struggling. You see, he got the little tubes in his nose, man.
And he was smart enough to stay there. I turned him over and covered him. He barely kicked out, but the people were talking about that move.
The name DDT was created after Jake learned the news that the pesticide of the same name had been outlawed due to its dangers.
So DDT is like a name that long of some poison the farmers were using on the crops. It was getting into the bloodstreams and into our food chain, and that's where I stole that from.
Even from its first use, the quick release and snap made the move look so devastating, as the opponent would be driven headfirst into the mat.
Not to mention, dude is like 6'6", man, so that's like a long way to go down.
The Snake would establish the DDT as one of the great finishing moves of the 80s and early 90s. He would pride himself on how effective the maneuver was in keeping opponents down.
Look out! Action on the outside, action on the outside.
And it was this effectiveness that led to other wrestlers adopting the DDT into their moveset. These included Arn Anderson, who made sure to emphasize the fast snap element of the move whenever he hit it.
I tried to explode into my version of it. I wasn't stealing. I was actually paying homage to something that I saw that looked like a kill shot.
Mick Foley would make the move his own by double hooking the opponent's arms to execute what would be the double arm DDT. A variant of the move that today is still a signature maneuver, with the likes of Drew McIntyre's Future Shock and Jon Moxley's Paradigm Shift. In the mid to late 90s, the DDT would be a move used by a number of wrestlers in ECW, with the likes of Tommy Dreamer and Raven using it as their finisher. As time went on, more variations were created, such as the Reverse DDT, Tornado DDT, and Cradle DDT, also being regularly hit throughout wrestling. The most famous of these was a version of the Reverse DDT executed by Sting called the Scorpion Death Drop. Sting introduced the move in 1996 and used it to win a number of titles, including the WCW World title against DDP on Nitro, which received a huge pop. However, the more versions of the DDT that would be created, the more watered down the original move would become, and what was once one of the most devastating maneuvers in wrestling was now becoming a setup move. This continued into the 2000s as wrestlers continued to find more creative ways to hit the move, thus rendering the basic version of the DDT less and less effective. Even wrestlers who once used a modified version of the traditional DDT as their finisher, such as Edge, would instead begin using the spear to finish matches. By the mid-2000s, the basic DDT would no longer be considered a finishing move, bar a select few who still used it as their finisher. The traditional DDT was now on par with the suplex and neckbreaker in terms of being a transition move or something a wrestler might use for a near fall in their match. Nevertheless, some superstars have still managed to make it look devastating with their selling of the move. In particular, the likes of RVD and Neville.
Top rope. Oh, tornado DDT. Go to top of the skull. Good Lord, Neville's out.
The DDT is a move that wrestlers continue to reinvent to this day. But it's still always cool to see someone bust out the original, even though it's not used to finish a match anymore. And that doesn't bother its most famous user, Jake the Snake Roberts.
People often ask me, well, Jake, don't you get mad at these guys that are using the DDT now for a false finish? I'm like, no, I think it's great. Because all they're telling the people is they're not half as good as I am. Because if I did it, you didn't get your ass up. Right.
Over the past couple decades, we've seen countless innovations of the DDT over the years, such as Eddie Guerrero's Tornado DDT, Undertaker's Running DDT, Sami Zayn's Suicide Dive DDT, Rey Mysterio's Sliding DDT, and Randy Orton's Draping DDT. There are only a handful of superstars in recent years who have actually used the variation of the DDT as their finisher, but the most impressive has to be Kalisto's Salida del Sol, which is an elaborate variation of the reverse DDT. Who can forget that time he hit it off the ladder? Absolutely beautiful.
That shit was crazy.
The DDT will never die. It will always be a part of wrestling as wrestlers continue to find new and inventive ways to hit it. But let's not forget where it all began, from when Black Gordman first hit the move in Japan in the 70s, to when Jake the Snake Roberts made it one of the most recognizable maneuvers in the 80s and 90s. It was the original out-of-nowhere wrestling move, and the legacy it has left is unmistaken.
We continue with the first round.
And that brings us to the end of this video. As always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Also, do check out our other videos in the series, such as the origin of the cutter, or what's otherwise known as the RKO. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, that was a stop. Hold on. That was a good right there. That was good. It's almost like other than that, if you like my reaction, like, share, subscribe my YouTube channel. It's your boy T-Bird signing off, and it's another history of one note move that is overused that we have a party for it now. You get the idea. If I hopefully have time next week, I will try to react to it. But anyway, it's your boy T-Bird signing off. On love.